So now we come to the portion where I show you and explain what Flipgrid is for our new users. This is the grid. It is video responses placed in a grid where I ask students to talk about something. In this particular instance, I'm using the pedagogical strategy of assessment of prior knowledge to learn what my students know about bullying. You can see I can scroll up and down to see all my students, and they are answering responses. We're going to use Julia's. So this is Julia's response to my discussion question.
Kids get bullied all.
I want to stop for a second because I want you to listen to what Julia says. Remember, this is assessment of prior knowledge, and I want to know what they know about bullying. So listen to Julia's response and tell me if you hear one word that really helps me as a teacher know where she is in her understanding about bullying.
All around the world. And when kids get bullied, they get discouraged and they feel bad about themselves. And it can affect them for their whole lives. If you ever see someone bullying, you should stop them. You should be an upstander, not a...
So she used the word upstander. As a teacher of 5th graders, this tells me something, that I now know that they have had some prior teaching or learning around this concept. And the fact that almost every other student used that term gave me that assessment of prior knowledge that I needed. So that's Julia's response. You'll notice there are background noises. People ask me all the time about how do I stop the background noises. I say, don't. Just ignore them. The important part is not the noise or where the setting is. It's really the content and the information you're gathering from your students about their learning. Now, in a grid, students can reply. And to reply, they just watch the video and then they use this green button here. And here is Drew's reply to Julia.
Julia, beautiful job. Also, I love your title. That's actually what got me into it. Also, your very pretty face. Also, you did a really good job because you got me the description, what bullying is and how bullying is wrong.
So Drew, obviously a super cute girl, really nice, but she came to me the next day and said, Miss Clark, can you take that down? And I asked her, why do you want me to take it down? And she said, because I say also 3 times, and I'd like to re-record it. And then I noticed that people started coming up to me and saying, Miss Clark, I'd like to re-record my video. I say a lot. And I thought, that's a really good skill to have, learning not to say And then when kids started coming up to me asking to re-record because they used the word like too much, I saw the power of Flipgrid in taking out like from the vocabulary of preteens and teens, and I was hooked. I want to go over to another grid that is used by a teacher, and this teacher, using Joe Buller's ideas about people need to talk about math, made this particular grid. It says, solve then explain. Please create a visual. Show your diagram while you explain how you solve the problem. A mountain climber ascends 800 feet per hour from his original position. After 6 hours, his final position is 11,600 feet above sea level. Find the climber's original position. So here are the students' responses. These are 7th graders. Here is Zoe.
My final answer was 6,800. I got this by multiplying 800 by 6.
So we don't have to listen to the whole thing to realize that she's talking about math. She's explaining math, something we don't often have kids do. Normally they turn in the page that she's holding, we grade it, and that's it. If you are in a state that's a Common Core state, this is important because they ask you to have kids explain how they got to the solution of a math problem. And often teachers do that by having them write it. But we spend 80% of our time talking and 20% reading and writing, but at school, somehow we flip that. And not anymore, because we have Flipgrid that lets kids articulate their learning. So this is the power of Flipgrid. This is my dashboard, and if we come back over here, I want to show you what this looks like. So I'm going to scroll down here to my persuasive writing one that we're going to be getting to. And I'll explain this writing piece shortly because most people wouldn't think of writing and Flipgrid going together. But I want you to see that my grid is persuasive writing, and my topics are brainstorming, thesis, and supporting details. So that's how you set up a grid. You have an overarching theme, and then you put in topics. So I wanted to show you what that looks like, what Flipgrid is, and now we're going to get down into how we can make this the most meaningful tool you might use this year.